that people are being recorded.
Okay, I'll do that after the prayers. I'll do it again. And then if you're not speaking, if you can mute your phone, it reduces the background noise as well. I think whenever you're ready.
Well, actually, I'm not seeing the prayers. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. I might need some assistance here. You're waiting for me. My goodness, I'm so sorry, everyone.
No, don't worry. I saw them a minute ago, and now I don't see them either.
Okay, let's see. Here we go. I think
here they come again. Do you see them now, Patty?
Do I just click on Lion's Roar? Is that how I see the prayers? If somebody knows the answer to this, if they could please assist me, I'd appreciate it.
I think if your picture.
Yes, Patty, click on Lion's Roar. You want to look at, there are two, you should see two Lion's Roars.
I see it. So thank you everyone for your patience. I really appreciate your patience so much because I was waiting and I didn't need to be. Okay, so.
You can't scroll it.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to start with praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. Teacher, foe destroyer, thus gone, fully and perfectly awakened Buddha, endowed with knowledge and good conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the world, helmsman of ordinary beings to be tamed, supreme one, teacher of all gods and men, Buddha, foe destroyer, glorious victorious one, Shakyamuni, to you I pay homage, make offerings, and go for refuge. Teacher, foe destroyer, thus gone, fully and perfectly awakened Buddha, endowed with knowledge and good conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the world, helmsman of ordinary beings to be tamed, supreme one, teacher of all gods and men, Buddha, foe destroyer, glorious victorious one, Shakyamuni, to you I pay homage, make offerings, and go for refuge. Teacher, foe destroyer, thus gone, fully and perfectly awakened Buddha, endowed with knowledge and good conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the world, helmsman of ordinary beings to be tamed, supreme one, teacher of all gods and men, Buddha, foe destroyer, glorious victorious one, Shakyamuni, to you I pay homage, make offerings, and go for refuge. When you, chief of humans, were born, you took 7 steps on this great earth, and you said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise at that time, I prostrate, completely pure body, supremely fine form, ocean of wisdom like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, supreme protector, to you I prostrate. Endowed with the supreme marks, a face like the stainless moon, a color like gold, to you I pay homage. The 3 worlds are not like you, who is free from dust. Matchless one, endowed with knowledge, to you I prostrate. Protector, endowed with great compassion, omniscient teacher, field of ocean-like merits and good qualities, to the thus gone I prostrate. through purity free from attachment, through virtue releases from the evil-gone realms, unique, supreme, ultimate meaning, to the Dharma that brings peace I prostrate, from freedom, teaching the path, while abiding in the pure trainings, holy field endowed with good qualities, to the Sangha also I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous action. Accumulate virtue and goodness. Subdue your own mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Like a star, a mirage, a lamp, illusions, drops of dew, bubbles, dreams, lightning, and clouds. Look at all conditioned phenomena as such. Due to this merit, having attained the state of the all-seeing, and thereby subduing the enemy of faults, may I liberate migrators from the ocean of existence, stirred by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the positive potential I create by listening to the Dharma, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the joyful happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from holding some close and others distant. Respectfully, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the virtuous actions of all ordinary and noble beings. Please, Buddha, remain as our guide, and turn the wheel of Dharma until samsara ends. Through the merit created by myself and others, may the two bodhicittas ripen, and may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. This offering I make of a precious jeweled mandala, together with other pure offerings and wealth, and the virtues we have collected throughout the 3 times with our body, speech, and mind. All my masters, my idams, and the 3 precious jewels, I offer all to you with unwavering faith. Accepting these out of your boundless compassion, please send forth waves of your blessings. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Nayatiyami. The Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling on massive Vulture's Mountain on Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara: how should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, and up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, and up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. So we'll say it one time out loud and then 20 more times silently. Tayata, gate gate, paragate, parsamgate, bodhisattva. Tayata, gate gate, paragate, parsamgate, bodhisattva. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that. It is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding there entirely, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan.
Thank you, Patty. I just wanted to remind folks again that we're recording the session today. So if you have concerns about that, you have a few choices. You can choose to participate and have your sound and or video off, or you can choose to exit and it'll be recorded. So just to be clear about that. And we're really lucky today to have Matthew here to speak with us. So please, Matthew.
Thank you, Ellen. Let's do this. Reverence to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I bow down and go for refuge to the feet of the excellent holy Lama Yeshe Jinpa, who has great compassion. May the words I speak reflect this compassion and the compassionate intention to be a source of help and happiness to all sentient beings. May this compassion extend to the people in the streets today, asking for justice. May all involved be safe, be well, and find internal peace. Black Lives Matter. Hi, I'm Matthew Kruse. I have a little bit of background as a lay practitioner in Zen, and then I started coming to Lion's Roar about 3.5 years ago, and last year on March 31st, I took refuge with Lama Jinpa, and I'm a massage therapist. And today I'm going to talk about the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma, and I'll read those to you now. This version is from Pema Chodron, and I really like this version because the way that they're phrased, it seems very alive. It's something that I can carry with me and practice. So the first is, maintain an awareness of the preciousness of human life. The second, be aware of the reality that life ends. Death is imminent. The third, recall that whatever you do, whether virtuous or not, it has a result. What goes around comes around. And fourth, contemplate that as long as you are too focused on self-importance and too caught up in thinking about how you are good or bad, you will suffer. Obsessing about getting what you want and avoiding what you don't want does not result in happiness. So these thoughts, when contemplated, for me, helped me see that I wanted a meaningful life and began to show me where some of my actions were leading to a lack of meaning and suffering. They're often called the preliminaries because it is these contemplations that help motivate us to get onto a spiritual path. And once on the path, they're often referred to as remembrances so that they can be used in practice. Lama has been talking a lot about the difference between formal training and practice in everyday life. And with these 4 contemplations, there is a way, like on the cushion in somewhat of a shamatha setting, while calm abiding, they can be used in a narrative fashion for formal training. And I will go through each contemplation, kind of offer some fodder for that contemplation. But it's really up to all of us on our own individually to see how these matter to us. Then off the cushion, as remembrances, holding these things lightly, we can engage in our lives in spontaneous moments, and they're powerful ways to help affect how we go about our daily life. Lama also wanted to kind of talk about the difference between musing about these things and actually thinking on the cushion about it. So that narrative effort is pointed and logical. Like there should be an effort to engage the logic when thinking and contemplating these points, as opposed to sitting in a relaxed way and just kind of like, wow, yeah, it's good to be alive. It's good to be human. Like, but what makes it good to be a human? You know, that I have these hands to build, that I have an intellect to think like this, that I have an imagination for creation. The resources I used were Words of My Perfect Teacher by Patrul Rinpoche, Pema Chodron, another book I'll mention later by the Dalai Lama, and excerpts from Nagarjuna's work. So I'll jump into the first one now. Maintain an awareness of the preciousness of human life. So we're asked to kind of think about all the different types of sentient beings, and that really being born a human is super rare. And also being a human is a very powerful endeavor in that we are capable of creating and affecting so much change in the world. And so we should be very blessed. I think of this one as kind of a carrot, you know, to come to practice. It's like, look at what we've got. We've got everything to do this. You know, I have a human body to be able to meditate, to be able to do things. I have the faculties of mind so that I can hear the Dharma, and there's actually Dharma to be heard. I'm existing at a time and in a place where there's not only Dharma to be offered to me to hear, but there's even Lama Yeshe Jinpa, who is a lineage teacher, which I think is super important. It adds a lot of credibility to him besides the spontaneous interactions that I've had with him that show how helpful he is. So we get all this here in Sacramento and now online, so can extend to, I guess, everywhere on earth. So it's a lot of gratitude. Like, we should get with it. You know, this is very invigorating that I got to be born a human this time. I want to do it. Like, what does it mean to have a meaningful human life? Yeah, so number 2. Turn the page. Be aware of the reality that life ends, that death comes for us. And while number 1 was kind of a carrot, I think of this as being, you know, it's very serious. We are going to die. It's a whip. So we got a carrot and a whip that we go around. I know I do. I don't really think that I'm going to die anytime soon. I figure I'm pretty healthy. I live a good lifestyle. I look both ways before I cross the street. Like, but that's not the actual reality. Like, things happen and people die suddenly. And this could be my last interaction. This could be my last time with you. And so how keeping that alive in me helps make this moment more, because I'm here with this moment when I really realize that it's so palpable that it could be my last. In fact, and the Buddha's dying words were, all composite phenomena are impermanent. Practice diligently. And this also is about impermanence, that everything changes. Everything that we put faith in the worldly ways comes to pass. Everything deteriorates. All buildings fall apart. Everything that's living dies. The weather changes. And so how do we deal with this impermanence? Nagarjuna said, life flickers in the flurries of 1,000 ills, more fragile than a bubble in a stream. In sleep, each breath departs and is again drawn in. How wondrous that we wake up living. And in words of my perfect teacher, Petrol Rinpoche says, whatever is born is impermanent and bound to die. Whatever is stored up is impermanent and is bound to run out. Whatever comes together is impermanent and is bound to come apart. Whatever is built is impermanent and is bound to collapse. Whatever rises up is impermanent and is bound to fall down. So also friendships and enmity, fortune and sorrow, good and evil, all the thoughts that run through your mind, everything is always changing. And with the Lama also asked that I remind everyone that impermanence is a relative truth, not an absolute truth. And with the fact in mind that all things are impermanent, we turn to the third contemplation, which is recall that whatever you do, whether virtuous or not, it has a result. What goes around comes around. And so this is talking about cause and effect and karma. And in the Buddhist tradition, with karma, we add in intention into cause and effect. And this is important because we have a tendency to label things, behaviors, as good and bad, when our intention behind them is very meaningful. Lama also was talking to me about how, like, most people that he speaks to that are seeking a spiritual way of life tend to have a hope that they're going to win the enlightenment lottery. Like, boom, it's going to happen for us. I actually had an experience like that. I went to Tassajara Zen Mountain Monastery and sat with the monks there and had a really meaningful experience after the sit too, doing prayers, and it really touched me. And so I was in this very open, emotionally charged place. And as the monks filed out, they all kind of blended into one line. And there was a person who had on like special robes with certain things that were different than everybody else. And like each person would come to him and have a moment where they really connected and they seemed so present. And the person with the fancy robes would say something and then the person would walk off. And I just thought, like, this is it, right? Like, this person's gonna like see me, and you know, it's me, and they're gonna get me what I'm not getting, and they're gonna say some like magic Zen thing, and I'm gonna get it, and like, boom, my life is gonna change. And I got up, we looked at each other's eyes and like bowed, and he looked mildly confused, and he goes, "Kitchen." And I started laughing. I was like, okay, thanks. He was assigning work. So I went to the kitchen and helped out for a little while. But I think that that's a really funny story in this circumstance for me too, because it taught me that, like, I need to get to work. If I want to wake up, I have to actually do work. And you know, what is that work? Being here at Lions Roar, you know, I think we come here for the most part. I've talked to friends that we want a better life for ourselves. We don't want to suffer as much, and we don't want as much suffering in the world. We want a better world. And so how do we do that? And in this, for this contemplation, we're looking at cause and effect. And so what we do has an effect. And so how do we begin to look at that? And like, one of the first steps is there's also that piece of intention. So I need to be really clear on my intention prior to action for it to have any sort of result that I would want it to. The Dalai Lama says, in reference to his intention in the book, The Middle Way, Faith Grounded in Reason, that if we want to find lasting happiness, we must discipline our mind. The mind exists of a continuum. One moment of consciousness transforms subsequent ones. Harmful intentions result in unpleasant experiences. Therefore, if you don't want to suffer and you want to be happy, you have to learn to control your mind in order to create only positive, beneficial intentions. Excuse me. Lama also mentioned that intention and aspiration are closely linked, and so we use our aspiration to energize intention. Aspirations can also be recognized on a continuum. So first we might think, like, you know, liberating or myself, saving all beings, that would be nice. That's a good thing. That would benefit the world. And then later we'll think, like, no, I really do wish to save all beings. And then that kind of transforms into, I am doing the work that saves all beings. And then hopefully, really important, that transforms into, I can get with my friends and with Lama, and they can help me save all beings. because we need to do this together, not alone. And that leads me to number 4, I believe. And number 4 is contemplate that as long as you are too focused on self-importance and too caught up in thinking about how you are good or bad, you will suffer. Obsessing about getting what you want and avoiding what you don't want does not result in happiness. This is also known as samsara sucks. And it's talking about samsara as the worldly ways, how the world is, cyclical existence. And I know I often think of samsara as out there, right? It's all that stuff that's bothering me. It's them, it's the situations, it's the things. But samsara is also inside of me. And it's actually all of us in our intention and cause and effect that comes from the inside that manifests outside. And so what do I do with that? How do I start dealing with my internal samsaric condition? Nagarjuna, who I've mentioned, he was a philosopher from the second, I have it in my notes, like the 2nd century, I want to say. Let's say 2nd century, a long time ago. And he's prolific in our tradition. He came up with what are called the 8 worldly dharmas, and these are 4 sets of 2 worldly dharmas, internal things we struggle with that act as polarities. So one side, like we would classify as good, the other side we would classify as bad or negative, good and negative. And I kind of like to think of this as a electric motor. It's like our intention is the magnet that traps us into samsara, and then we spin by those positive and negative poles, right? Because they kind of inform our worldly intentions. And so those 8 world dharmas are, the first set is happiness and suffering. And so, right, like my main motivation tends to be like, well, how do I make myself happy? And you hear this a lot, like most people are really concerned with being happy. How can you be happier? I see billboards about it all the time. You can go to the dispensary and be happy. So that's kind of always charging us. And then at the same time, we're avoiding suffering. Like, I don't like this thing over here. It makes me feel bad. So how do I stay away from that? And those 2 intentions operate inside me quite a bit. Well, those are helping spin me out in samsara. So if I can hold this and begin to see that through like shamatha mind training, that's happening, I can maybe start to let those go and then maybe sit with discomfort, sit with that suffering and see what it has to offer me, how I can approach it differently instead of avoiding it, and what type of joy might arise if I wasn't chasing after happiness. The next is recognition and obscurity. So recognition is, wanting people to know I'm a good person, and I have stuff going on and I can do stuff, and I mean, it's me, like I want you to see me how I think I am, or in a great way. And on the other side of that is obscurity, that I'm not seen, that my good deeds go unnoticed. And dang it, didn't they see how good I did? Like, why did I even bother doing that if nobody saw it? I think those things come up for all of us. The next is praise and blame. So, right, again, this is, I think, kind of very tied to recognition and how it comes up in thought, but it feels really good to get praise. If I do something, I want that praise. And if I'm blamed, like I know personally, I have a real defensive thing around blame. Like there's almost no thought. If I'm blamed for something, I almost instantly go into a defensive mode and can begin an argument, even though that blame might really help me out, right? Like hopefully the person's delivering it nice, but it can be a real opportunity to see a blind spot or how I'm affecting somebody that I didn't mean to, or how I can grow. Also on praise, I was thinking like that's such a common thing, that there's that old saying like no news is good news. I think that saying had to come about because people were like so focused on like, why aren't I getting the praise? Why aren't I getting the praise? And it's like, look, if you're not hearing anything, remember that's good. It's okay to be ordinary. And then the last one is gain and loss. Thinking about what I can gain and having an intention all the time to gain more for myself, to have security materially, and putting a lot of effort into that intention of gain. And then also worrying that I'm gonna lose it, you know? So if I have a lot of wealth amassed and things aren't going well in society, like there's a pandemic and there's riots, I start getting very politically active and very politically angry because these types of things might cause me to lose my investments or lose my security and change reality very much. But if our intention is to help all beings, some of those things can start to drop away, and we can see how those types of intentions are taking away from this primary intention of liberating self for the benefit of all sentient beings. I think too, there's an interesting paradox with the 8 worldly dharmas, which I think of as misplaced intentions or unconscious intention. That the more I've let those intentions go, and I'm still totally caught up, but doing that work, it seems like I've gotten more of the positive aspects. I've gained more, I get more praise, I get more happiness, but it's not the way, it's not what I would have expected. And it's not what I would have purposely created. It's a gift. And then lastly, there's 2 types of relative bodhicitta that it's aroused by these contemplations, and that's an intentional aspiration. I am going to practice, and there is a applicative aspiration. I am practicing. So in conclusion, our internal world fuels the suffering of the world, and living out these 4 preliminaries will establish us on the path with an intention to liberate ourselves to be a benefit of all sentient beings. And the process of clarifying our intention in all we do has great and meaningful effect, but we must train our minds in shamatha, have a teacher, get friends, spiritual friends, and a sangha. And I hope this helps you. So yeah, 4 contemplations that turn the mind to Dharma, and 8 worldly dharmas. And if anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer them, or comments. Feel free to jump in.
Hi, Matthew. This is Karen, and thank you so much for your talk. It was really helpful. It's inspiring. And can you tell me which book you're using of Nagarjuna's? What text of his you're using?
I cannot right now. So some of the quotes came from his book that I can't remember the name of, and then some came from Patrul Rinpoche's book, Words of My Perfect Teacher.
Right, I'm familiar with that one.
And then some also came from the Dalai Lama's book, The Middle Way, Faith Grounded in Reason.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Matthew, Ellen, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a question. Matthew, thank you for your talk. My question is about intentions and positive intentions. I really love that quote you shared from the Dalai Lama about you have to learn to control your mind in order to only create positive, beneficial intentions. And I'm wondering sort of like if you have any thoughts about creating that positive intention versus sort of like forcing your will on life or spiritual bypassing, like, oh, positive vibes only. Like, how can we create a truly beneficial intention without kind of being aggressive and harmful about it, if that makes sense?
I think our intention is stated as to liberate myself for the benefit of all sentient beings. So at least in terms of this talk, I don't know about creating other intentions. And I think that using that base intention to kind of gauge my other intentions, if I'm actually stopping to know what they are, would be the helpful practice, and to see if they're in line with that overarching base intention. I definitely had in my notes, and I didn't talk about that, but like being Pollyannish or like pushing toward like everything being good isn't necessarily helpful. I mean, I think there's times that, you know, it's helpful to be like the positive voice and, you know, raise everybody up. But like you said, I don't think it's helpful if we're ignoring real issues that are difficult. Thanks, Martha. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I have a question. This is Autumn.
Hi, Autumn.
I don't have my video on. So you mentioned Black Lives Matter in the beginning of the talk, and I think a lot of us are feeling very heavy this morning about what's going on with current events. And I was just wondering if you could apply the 4 immeasurables to our current event situation and kind of how you might view it or act, you know, put this into practice to be of benefit in this very difficult historic time that we find ourselves in. That's a big question, but
Yeah.
I would like input.
Yeah, I do think like to actually expand on that would be a talk in and of itself. But I do think that one, training in the formal way, you know, being on a cushion, practicing shamatha first, and then thinking about the 4 contemplations and the 8 worldly dharmas and how they're connected with what's going on will be a fruitful practice to start to identify things in yourself that are meaningful for you, and then carrying those into daily life as remembrances would be a positive practice. And I do think that what you're saying is important and interesting, and that they don't have to be generalized. I think they can be used in a more specific circumstantial way, like you're suggesting. Thank you for suggesting that.
Thank you.
Matthew, Patty had a comment.
Hi, Patty.
Hi. Thank you so much for your talk. I've been kind of struggling today personally, but it really helped to hear your talk, Matthew. And I just wanted to, I think this is relevant, but because with the Four Noble Truths, the first truth of suffering, recently Lama, I think he said it in a talk, but I'm not sure, but he said something to the effect that with the first noble truth of suffering, he said something that with the first noble truth, that really more accurately, it's to say that it's to tell the truth. And so when we tell the truth, like for example with the Black Lives Matter, it is suffering, that's for sure. But it also brings up, maybe in some of us, at least the very best of us, like we're like, no, because we're kind of bringing stuff out in the open, like this things that have recently happened. It's like, there's just like some people have been great denial about the problems that are in our community. And so I just, the idea of telling the truth, I really like that when he framed it like that. I just wanted him to say that. So anyway, that's all I had to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Yeah, how can we ever address suffering without honesty?
So Daniel put a comment in, what goes around comes around. Should we be afraid of things we've done in the past?
Taking refuge, my understanding would be the antidote to that fear would be in taking refuge. And by taking refuge in the Guru, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we have the support necessary to be able to face any karmic consequences of our past actions. Thanks for the question, Daniel. It's good to see you.
Can I add? There's also the possibility of purification practices that we have that emphasize regret, but not guilt. And so guilt is maybe where the fear comes from, as opposed to regret and remorse, which is something that we can really use for transformation and use to help ourselves along the path and not repeat maybe something that we are sorry that we've done in the past. But guilt gets in the way. Remorse and regret are the things that are helpful.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, that's beautiful. I know for myself, when past actions have come to roost, I'm often like spun out into how, I'm going to have obscurity, I'm not going to be loved, have friends, I'm not, or blame and blaming. But like you're saying, like actually having these practices to be able to sit with the grief of that and the truth of it has been very fruitful. Thank you.
I also like to say that I really do think that fear is part of the path too. So I don't think you can skip over it. I think that it's going to come up. And yes, our previous actions are going to ripen at some point. We don't know when, but I do think fear is part of the path. You have to learn how to invite it in and sit with it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Thank you.
Matthew, I really appreciated your talk and how authentic it was. You could really feel that you've worked at trying to apply this in your own life. And a question I had is, whenever I review these 4 preliminaries, they're always very beneficial to me, but yet I still find myself having a bit of an aversion to doing it. Wanting to face that life is, of course, life's precious, but that there's death and things are impermanent. Have you noticed that in yourself, or especially come up with any, I was going to say tricks, you know, to get yourself to keep presencing those in your life and motivating your practice?
Yeah, so I've definitely noticed that. I mean, I think right, trying to live a meaningful life is scary. The fear comes up. It's hard, right? And it takes work. That level of honesty is difficult. That level of compassion is difficult. Tricks. I mean, I think like being part of Sangha is a great trick, right? Because I'm constantly being reminded of like where I am and who I am by my friends and what we're doing here. And then suffering always helps. Helps remind me. Yeah, what are your tricks?
Yeah, I suppose it's similar, but I think I just practice because I know my life's better when I practice, but I don't often invite myself to revisit the immeasurables, and it probably would be better if I did it more frequently. So I guess not being afraid to do it, you know, there's like kind of the little bit of still wanting to check out and not have to really get present to those things all the time. And it's not helpful, like you said. So thanks again. I really enjoyed your talk.
Thanks so much.
Ellen, you can ask for help. I've been doing this a lot lately. Ask for help from the guru deities on specific things like that. They will help if you ask. It may not be the way you think, but it'll help. They will help.
Thanks, Karen.
Hey, Matthew, I wanted to ask you on the four worldly dharmas. You had a phrase for the second one that you talked about. It was usually fame and disrepute, but you had a different phrase. Where did that come from? And would you repeat that? Because it was really good. I thought it was much more helpful than fame and disrepute.
Oh, recognition and obscurity.
Yeah, whose words are those?
Those are lamas.
Lamas? Recognition and what?
Obscurity.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, I think those are much more helpful than the ones I had before. Thanks.
Yeah, the ones I originally had, I think, were fame and insignificance.
But recognition and obscurity. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and again, also I echo what everybody else has said. Great talk, really heartfelt, and I loved it. There was so much personal oomph behind it. It was just really terrific talk. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Susan. Thanks for your questions and comments.
I don't see other questions in the chat, but there were other people as well that said they really liked your talk, Matthew. So you can look at those when you have time, when the talk's over. There's several people that wrote that.
So I'm getting mildly distracted with technical stuff. Are we gonna? Yeah, I think it's a good time to end. If anybody else has a burning question, we do have a couple minutes, and if not, we'll do prayers. And as Lama always reminds us, to hopefully do some shamatha on our own. Now we can go do some prayers together.
Patty, I muted you because your line had a little feedback. You'll have to do the prayers. Patty, I muted you, so you'll have to click on the little microphone button on your screen, down near the bottom. Still can't hear you, Patty.
Connor, the technical expert, is on his way to Patty's home. And he's very quick.
There, she did it. We're there. Thank you, Patty. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, friends, So sorry for my delay. I am relying on the kindness of everyone. So we're going to do dedication prayers now. And I want to add my thank you to Matthew as well. Dedication. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. May the teachings of the Buddha flourish, and may the upholders of the teachings remain forever. May all migrators achieve happiness, and may they fulfill all their temporary and ultimate goals. Losang, magical display of the deep awareness of all the victorious ones. Merciful giver of a stream of profound and vast instructions to the fortunate migrators, please remain always, unperishing, unchanging, unfading. Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of objectless compassion. Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom. Vajrapani, destroyer of the entire host of Maras. Sankapa, crown jewel of the snowy land sages. Losang Drakpa, I make requests at your holy feet. The verses that save Sakya from sickness, a prayer for pacifying the fear of disease. May all the diseases that disturb the minds of sentient beings and which result from karma and temporary conditions, such as the harms of spirits, illness, and the elements, never occur throughout the realms of this world. May whatever sufferings arise due to life-threatening diseases, which, like a butcher leading an animal to the slaughter, separate the body from the mind in a mere instant, never occur throughout the realms of this world. May all embodied beings remain unharmed by acute, chronic, and infectious diseases, the mere names of which can inspire the same terror, as would be felt by the jaws of Yama, Lord of Death. May the 80,000 classes of harmful obstructors, the 360 evil spirits that harm without warning, the 404 types of diseases, and so forth, never cause harm to any embodied being. May whatever sufferings arise due to the disturbances in the four elements, depriving the body and mind of every pleasure, be totally pacified, and may the body and mind have radiance and power, and be endowed with long life, good health, and well-being. By the compassion of the gurus and the three jewels, the power of the dakinis, dharma protectors and guardians, and by the strength of the infallibility of karma and results. May these many dedications and prayers be fulfilled as soon as they are made.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew. So this coming Friday, Lama is planning on doing something for Sagadawa. Not sure what yet, so just keep that in mind. Saturday, we're still doing Chenrezig practice. Susan's leading that. So, a lot of us did the empowerment with Dalai Lama this past week. So, keep up that practice. We still need submissions for Pardon Me, Patty. So read the Roar and submit things to info at lionsroardharmacenter.org. Please, we need jokes because the last one was really bad if you didn't notice. Please send jokes, questions, anything, literally anything. And Refuge students, a short and fun and interesting exam on meditation was sent out a couple weeks ago. That is due tomorrow. Please send it in. Lama is looking forward to getting those. That's all the announcements I have.
Thank you, Connor.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everybody.